Meeting recording.
Yeah, I got a 1943. Penny. Okay.
We have someone that's just on an iPhone that if you can mute.
Minted in Philadelphia. Okay. So how much could I get for that? Oh, heck. I saw one for 10,000.
Alrighty. Good afternoon, everybody. It is March 19th, 2025, about 3:04 p.m. We're meeting the Crime Prevention and Control Commission for our March meeting. We have an agenda that's all set up. We're going to have right now the opening remarks. I'll be passing it over to our new chair that we elected our last meeting, Jonathan McMillan. But on the agenda, after Jonathan welcomes everyone, we will have a budget update presentation and a discussion from our data team that we've highlighted, and you all were sent that out via email yesterday. And then we'll have we could talk any new business or anything like that, public comments, and then we'll adjourn. I'm not sure we're going to need the whole 2 hours, but we are scheduled for that. I will flag that I do have to leave at 4:30. I have another meeting that is conflicting with this one. So with that, I just wanted to let everyone know a quick update from me. We have met with our newly elected chairperson for the commission, Jonathan McMillan. My team met with him this past week. Last week, and we were able to provide a briefing. But as you all know, in the time we were able to brief, there's a lot of stuff to learn and get into process about the CPCC and all that runs with it. Shanae Cummings, who's going to be providing our budget update, was also in the meeting. And so we talked with Jonathan about some of that, and he could probably share some of what we talked about as well. I also wanted to update you real quickly on our hiring process for our CPCC program manager. You all know our former program manager left some time ago. We had been sustaining that vacancy due to our current budget environment. We finally had the approval to move forward with that. We've gone forward with the process. Jonathan and I have interviewed final candidates. And so hopefully in the coming weeks, you will be meeting the new program manager for CPCC. Great candidates that we were able to narrow down, and are excited about potential new manager coming on board. So for that, I'm now going to kick it off to Jonathan. Jonathan, if you want to address the committee, and after you're done, we can go to our budget update.
Yeah, thank you, Armando. I just want to note my first meeting here as commissioner or the chair. You're ducking out early, so you handed me the plate without a oven mitt. No, just giving you a hard time. Hey, thank you everybody for joining this meeting. I appreciate every time that we have a quorum. It gives me a bit of reassurance. And let me thank everybody for your vote of confidence, literally your vote of confidence in selecting me as the chair of the commission. I've been on the commission since I think 2021. And this is one of the, I wear a lot of hats, but this is one of the hats that really does mean a lot to me. I know that a commissioner role within the city and county of Denver oftentimes can just serve as fluffer for somebody's resume. I've served on a commission before. I've actually been a chair of the Denver African American Commission. And while I appreciated my time on that commission, this one means a lot to me. For those of you who know me, you know that this topic of crime prevention is something that I have a lot of lived experience in, as being a product of Denver, and being involved in the system from the time I was a juvenile up until my mid-20s. And the one of the people who I was very fortunate to have into my life as a mentor through my adolescence and into my adulthood was Regina Herder, Reggie. We lovingly know her. Was one of the people that envisioned this commission, and so this means a lot to me. I'd say all that to say it means a lot to me. I am very passionate about making sure that our systems, our city systems, our government systems, our public safety, our public health systems are doing what they're supposed to do and protecting and providing for those who are most vulnerable. And I absolutely see the role of the commission as being a pathway to making sure that some of our most vulnerable citizens, whether they're the victims or people inside the criminal justice system, get what they need in order to be able to improve their lives. Had it not been for programs similar to the ones that have come through CPC, I would not be where I am today. And so thankful that I am able to be on this commission and that I get to serve with all of you who I believe are just as passionate in whatever sector or segment of the system that you work in. So with that said, thank you again. And I think we could just go ahead and jump right into the agenda.
Thank you, Jonathan.
So-
Appreciate that. Let's go to Shanae. Shanae, the floor is yours.
Good
And Shanae,
afternoon,
I know you-
everyone.
Shanae, I know you're not feeling well, so if you need me to hop in anytime, please let me know.
Okay. Thank you and good afternoon, commissioners and everyone else on the call. I'll be doing a screen share and hopefully you all can hear me through my hoarseness of my voice. So I apologize about that. Hold on. And can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, we can see
Okay.
it.
So wanted to run through the March financials with the commission. This is something we'll be providing a monthly update of the financials for CPCC. So just as a recap from the last meeting, we have the general fund transfer of approximately $900,000. And then also the transfer, which was just rollover costs from when the fund moved from DPHE over to Department of Safety. That's 800,000. And then this projected rollover of 1,012,000 is for 2024. Now our 2024 books for the city just closed on March 7th. So there are still a lot of adjusting entries that the Department of Finance through the Controller's Office is actually completing. So I will have a better assessment in April, but I think that assessment is really pretty close. And then just as a reminder, we do have two administrative positions to support this commission, which Armando just spoke to one of them as the program manager that we will be filling soon, and also the fiscal administrator, which we're currently have reinitiated that recruitment for, and that recruitment should close on Friday. So we're hopeful in the next month to get the fiscal administrator on board as well. Then also as a recap from the last meeting, these are the awards and funding allocations that have been approved by the commission so far for 2025. If you will look to your right where it says the 2025 budget for innovation programs, that only represents 6 months of programming. And we wanted to allow the time to talk about the data, some of the data that we've collected in that programming pieces, so that next month we can make a determination for the commissioners to vote to continue to extend these contracts or not. And then one of the other things, this is just a real high level highlight of what our budget process and timeline is, has historically been in previous years. I do want to caveat this with saying we have not received the 2026 economic outlook yet from the Department of Finance, or And so that information should be forthcoming to us in the next month. So as I get that information, I will provide an update to the commission. And we've also asked our budget director, Justin Sykes, to attend one of the future meetings just to talk about the 2026 outlook of the commission. There will need to be a request, as you all may know or may not know, that there is not an automatic funding allocation that comes into the commission each year. And so we will have to make a request for what our funding needs are estimated to be for the ensuing or upcoming fiscal year. And so we'll be working on that with the commission members here in the next month. And I will stop sharing at this point. Those are the updates that I have, and take any questions that anyone may have. Okay. Not hearing any. This document is also should have been sent out to all commissioners, and it will be available on the public website as well. And I'll turn it back over to you, Chairperson McMillan. Is that who it goes back to, or to you, Armando? Thank you.
I was just going to remind Jonathan, the next thing on the agenda is a presentation from our data team. I think we have Cindy Lobb and Shay Moore Farrell on.
Cindy, Cheryl, please.
Hi, all. Can you hear me?
We hear you. Yes.
All right. So I am also going to try to share my screen. Let me see if I'm probably not as good at this as Shanae is. All right. Can we see my screen?
Affirmative.
All right. So today, first of all, I do want to thank my data team, Brian, Shay, Blake, for helping put all of this information and going through many months of thought process on this. I know we're asked to present a lot of information, and so we spend time trying to think about how to do this for you guys well. And so today, we don't have evaluation data. We're still in the midst of gathering the data from our programs. So I'm going to walk you through what our plan is and what we're going to present, and throw out like something maybe for the commission to ponder or think about in terms of data for commissioners to discuss. So I don't know that I can see hands or anything. So all of you, if you want to stop me, just yell at me. I'm kind of used to that. So just holler and I will pause and field any questions or feedback. So we have been asked to conduct program evaluations, and I know that in our scope of work and in our contracts, they are asked to send data quarterly. So just to give you a backdrop of what we've been doing on our end, starting July of 2023, we received quarterly data from all of our new programs. And by the new, I mean the 4 new that are going up for vote soon that end in June. So we asked to receive data from them. And looking at it with the team, it's insufficient really to do any kind of evaluation on. And so starting then in September of 2024, July 2024 is when we asked for the quarterly data. Starting in September, we met with each of the new programs, except for Second Chance Center, which I'll explain in a bit, to try to gather data that's at a level that could be evaluated. So I just wanted to give a backdrop to what we've been doing behind the scenes in terms of this process. So we pulled this, which is scope of work metrics for each of the program. And I'm sure there are 1,000 things that jump out to all of you as odd, which does to us being CEO and DDC, first of all, have the same metrics, which I'm sure was a mistake in developing the scope of work. But anyway, I wanted to pull these metrics to see this is what we are handed in terms of the contract and the scope of work. and then asked to do an evaluation. So I want to just ground us in that as I talk then about how we can be better at this. So as I said, we looked at all the quarterly data, quarterly report data, and none of them in this first column are sufficient to do an evaluation on, not for any problem with the programs or anything like that. It's what we asked for in the scope of work that really doesn't add any value to conducting an evaluation. Second Chance Center in their diversion program, which is one of the new, is different because they have the CivicCore system in which they enter their data and we can pull directly from. So their data is fine in this process. We didn't have to go through this practice with them. So we met with all of them in September and we put together an outline for each of the new programs to send us data that's at a level that can be evaluated. And so we've made requests and worked with the programs, and this last column shows that we are not receiving evaluation level data from the program. So Center for Employment Opportunities, Denver Dream Center, Tribe Recovery Homes, and Second Chance Center are the programs listed in here. The next slide adds a little more information to this. So with CEO, we've made multiple requests and met with them for data. We received the first evaluation data on February 24th of this year. We revised it, or they revised it and sent it to us on the 5th. We met with them on the 14th, and we are comfortable that they will send us good data by the end of this week, is what they told us they would get data to us too for the evaluation. Denver Dream Center has been very engaged with getting us and structuring their data in a way in which we can do evaluations. We received their final data pull the end of February. We have to send it. We had to send it to Department of Corrections because Dream Center is a prison program. We are still trying to get through the signatures on our side to receive that data, but we are working with that and we will have the analysis ready for them. Tribe Recovery Home, we've made multiple requests as well. We finally received data on the 11th of March, but it was quarterly-ish kind of data. It's kind of a hybrid between quarterly and evaluation. We met with Daniel today and kind of walked through how he can restructure their data to send to us in hopes to get better evaluation for when we evaluate that program. He said he would do that by the end of this week or first of next week. And hopefully we will have better data that we can use. Second Chance Center, as I said, is not a problem. We have the ability to pull their data from their system and work well with them on making sure the data is validated and whatnot. So our process, at the beginning of this year, we requested, and this goes for all of our programs for Wellness Court as well as then reentry, we requested data through the end of 2024 for the window. For the new programs, we requested all of their data, which the programs began in July of 2023 through the end of December 2024. We requested all of that, or we'll hold it. I have a couple slides that'll talk about what our thought process is in putting the data together. So for the evaluation, we will use participant data, descriptives, the return on investment will all be based on participants who used funding, CPCC funding in 2024, received services during that calendar year. That will be their descriptive data. Recidivism is a bit different. So we have to go back to the onset of the program, July of 2023, and we will go a year out to the end of June 2024, and we will pull recidivism rates for that year, which gives us 6 months between July and December of 2024 for a 6-month recidivism rate. Hopefully that makes sense. It's hideous. And so that's how we've thought through to do that. We sent participation information over to DOC. Like I said, we're working through the signing of the agreement piece, and hopefully we'll get that data back to integrate it into our evaluation for the Dream Center. And then Shay will link this to the jail management system data so we can understand jail usage. So that's everything that we're doing on our end to try to deliver anything that could be helpful for you guys. This slide just kind of represents that time frame we talked about. So we need a year of data for participants, but it'll be a little bit different data than the actual calendar year participants because we need a recidivism rate that has a 6-month lag to it. So this is how we calculate recidivism or booking. It will be based on anybody who comes back to jail or goes into jail after their start date, which we can discuss what that means for different programs within that 6-month window before the end of December. So if that's confusing, it is for us too, but that's the process we're using. So our plan then is in April, we will provide evaluations next month for the Denver Dream Center, Second Chance Center for their diversion program, not the reentry, Center for Employment Opportunities, Tribe Recovery Homes. And then in May, we will do the 2 older programs that are I think agreed to have been budgeted through the end of the year. And so the reentry program, which includes Second Chance Center and Denver Sheriff's reentry program, and then the wellness program through our courts. There is the caveat that we can only evaluate the level of data we have. So, you know, Tribe, we're working on getting a level of quality that we can do an evaluation for. The second group of stuff just says this is what we'll report on, which I think could also be better with some help. But we'll report on descriptives, what they did, how many services, who they are. And then the performance statistics that we will work on is time and community before being booked or if they were rebooked, and recidivism. So those are kind of the metrics that we will fall on for all of the programs consistently. So with that, that's our plan for the next couple months that we will have this information available to you guys and present it to you. And this is where I'd like to take a shift. So if anybody has anything that they want to know about what to plan for in the next couple months, we can pause here or we can just jump into this next group of slides. We good to jump?
Go ahead, Cindy.
All right, perfect. So through weeks of meetings with the evaluation or with the team, our data team for EDOS, we came up with a plan that would, you know, working through this process with you guys and trying to get you guys all the information you need to make your decisions. We've really tried to work through a lot of what we could get from you that could help us. And so these next slides we put together through a thought process with our team and leadership. So first, this is an analytics maturity model. And I just want to ground everyone in this model. This is really helpful for us. Blake put this together. And what this says is we can only give you information based on the level of data we have. So if we don't have anything that can speak to the diagnostics of a program, we can't provide that information to you, right? So as we mature through these models, we'd love to bump up. And oftentimes you guys would like us to give you like predictive analysis, but we only have case study level data. And so we would love to be able to work with everybody to bump up and be able to do more robust and better analysis. But that would take getting better and quality data. And so that's kind of just to ground everybody in what our thought process is as we talk about this. So what we would like is just your help in a lot of this stuff. And I know every time I present, I'm asked questions and I'm like, well, I don't know how to do that, right? And this is where I think we would like input that comes from commissioners. So when we talk about the metrics, I showed you the scope of work for all the new programs, which really doesn't even provide us good output kind of data. And so we would like, you know, help from you guys, like what is useful in terms of what you would like us to be able to do so we can make sure we have that data available. Same with outcomes. When we think about the diversion program, which we will talk about next month and present on. What does diversion mean? Why did we fund this program, right? Like, this is a population that probably doesn't interact much with jail. So what does a successful diversion program look like in terms of data? Those are some of the things. What is a control group? So if we're going to compare their booking rate, what does it mean if they have a 9% booking rate, right? Like, compared to what? We don't know. So we need help and thought through those kind of metrics. We are going to present you the concrete time windows, which is what I explained from July to June, and then the 2024 calendar year. If we get good enough in our data, we could do rolling recidivism rates. We can gather it and connect it, but our data has to be at a level in which, and we have to be receiving it in enough time to be able to do that for you guys. And then any kind of other metrics that will assist you guys in making the decisions on what you'd like to fund, or if we need to process improve, or what are some of the metrics that we can make sure we can gather and put together that would be useful for you guys to be able to make a decision. This one, I think Shanae queued this next one up perfectly, timing, right? Like, we're going to present to you evaluations on 2024 for the 4 new programs in April. Is that useful? Probably not with the budget cycle. So is there a way that we can align when we give you this information that can allow you enough time to be able to RFP out or do whatever you need to do in terms of the budget cycle? Like, does that really help you guys? So we would love to sit and be able to work with all of you guys on putting together a calendar in which we can, provide this information for you timely, and then we're not behind the 8 ball trying to just throw like some information together to justify. So that's the timing piece of it. And then data access. So, for like Second Chance Center, we have the data system, which is very useful for us. Some of the programs like Tribe, they may not have the system that really pulls and gets us the level of data that they need. And so they're struggling to try to help us, and so what do we do with that? What if there's a program that just doesn't? I think CEO has a great robust system that they're able to pull together and get us the information. So there's all of these barriers that we face in trying to put the information together for you, that we would love to be thought partners in being able to help present this to you as well. So these then are kind of timelines in which we threw together. We would love to be, and by we, I mean our data team, would love to be a part of the process when we're putting scope of works together and contracts together. It only makes sense if we're going to require programs to send us data that it's useful for the purposes of what you guys need. And so we would like to work with the program manager, with commissioners, with the leadership, well before the program is implemented. Once you decided to fund a program, then work with us on making sure that we can get into place the data that we need to be able to report back out to you. So that would be the time frame, whatever that looks like in terms of prior to implementation. The next slide kind of talks about the 2 years that we're actually funding. So day one, when we start taking participants, that first year we could really work with the programs on getting quality data, the timing of that data, making sure that the commissioners, are good on the metrics that we're asking for, just making sure that the data is coming to us and we're able to analyze it. And so at that first checkpoint, after that first year, we could report descriptives out to you, right? Like, this program took in 40 people, and these are, some of the descriptives for that program. If they can't get us data, if they can't, don't comply with that, then you would at least have that information where you can make a decision of what we want to do at that point. Then the second year, assuming the data is great, like we would hope it would be in this first year, you guys keep asking for these quarterly reports. We could then create them, right? So every quarter we can send you out. This is the data. This is the updates. This is the recidivism rates. We could do this, providing that first year was spent really allowing the program to mature in what we're asking for, as well as then giving participants that length of time to be able to then start analyzing some of the outcomes. And then by the end of the second year, you guys would be well aware of probably if you want to fund this program, if you want to make changes, those kind of things. Post-program, we could be helpful as well in process improvement. Is there data that shows if we do certain things, maybe other outcomes could happen? Future funding, part of a different RFP process. If we wanted to RFP out for a program or handing off a program, we could help with data in terms of those kind of things. So this is all we've put together for this. And I don't know what that means to anybody, but I'm gonna hand it off or take questions and yeah, see if we can maybe get some help on some of this stuff.
Thank you, Cindy. I will open the floor up for any questions now. I don't like the Zoom layout. I'm not sure if I'm missing hands or
Same.
not.
Okay, let me stop sharing. That might help.
No, it's not you, Cindy. If anyone has any questions, don't worry about raising hands. Just go ahead and come off mute.
Hi. I guess I'll jump in there. Hi, Cindy. Thank you so much. I'm like really happy to start to see that there is some thought being put into getting evaluation done, and I think it's definitely needed. I don't know that I have questions right now. I feel like I'll have more questions as we actually have more conversation about what it is that we want to see coming out of these reports. But yeah, I think I need to be able to like kind of look at, you know, what they have in their scope of work. And then we don't want to make it too difficult, obviously, like what is the data that they need to collect. But we also want to make sure like that we're all on the same page of what it is that we want to see in these reports and things like that. But I really do appreciate you taking the time to put this all together. And I think it's definitely going to be helpful for us in the future as we are, you know, looking at the data and then making decisions about contracts and things like that. So I think this is great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Megan. I have a question, but I'm not a commission member, so I just wanted to ask if that's okay, or I can email it.
Typically, Megan, we go through commission stuff first, and then there's public comment at the end for non-commission. But if you wanted to email the question, that'd be fine too.
Okay.
Thank you,
Was there any more questions? John, I had a couple of things to add that I just wanted to give people, some folks, some historical context. And please, first of all, thanks to Cindy, Shay, Blake, Brian, the whole team that has been putting a lot of thought and work into this, just to remind folks really where we've been and where we're going, and a lot of what Cindy said. So our providers that we are in contract with now do not have the specificity in their scope of work to provide the data that is needed to do evaluation. That's what we've talked about in the past. That's what we paused on in trying to figure out how we could get that data so we could put more information in the hands of the commission to make informed decisions on the efficacy of programming, of certain programs, and what we are funding, and are we getting, you know, good investment in that based off the data. So I think what we had talked about, and Jonathan and I, when we met with our team, we had talked about maybe as we go into either new contracting as we're looking into 2026, I think this is a good time for committee members that I know are really interested in the data part and how we are evaluating these programs. And if we could maybe put together a subcommittee of folks that could come up with ideas, as Councilwoman Serena Gonzalez Gutierrez has just stated, you know, there's a lot of interest and there's a lot of certain things, but we also want to balance not making it overwhelming for the providers that we utilize, right? That don't have robust data teams and teams that can collect all that. So how can we best set up these folks to get the information we need in a way that is conducive for them to provide it to us, so it's not too overwhelming, so there's a balance there. I think that process can be informed best by the commissioners. And so hopefully we can maybe get together a subcommittee of folks that can help work with the data team and help us as we go into 2026 contracting of trying to put into scopes of work and RFP the ability to do that. The last thing I want to bring up is this is an opportunity. Cindy talked about that we have one of our programs that are on Civicor. Civicor is a data management software that allows for us that we have access to in the Department of Safety that can allow us to first have the formatted data that can be evaluated. It provides a decent collection point for that data. It also provides the opportunity for consistency in how that data is captured and recorded. So I think there's also maybe consideration for that team to also think about should we, or when we fund programming, should we provide a platform for the data to be input that we provide for those providers that we make available for them, or should we have them participate somehow in a centralized data system? Which back to, you brought up Reggie Herder's name, back to those days when she first started, we've always been trying to get to. So definitely just wanted to bring those up as topics for future discussion. So thank you.
Thank you, Armando. Councilwoman Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Yeah, thank you. I was just like looking over the slides again. One question I had, and I just want, I guess, more clarification around, so I know we're talking about the data from the providers, but I'm curious if there will be any, like what the nexus will be with existing department data. So, I guess, and I know this is difficult, right? Because I'm not going to say that any one provider can have like such a huge impact on our systems, right? On whether or not somebody is successful on their probation, successfully paroled, all of those things. But I guess I would be curious, like if it would be within any way of realm to look at, you know, somebody's involvement in the system, and by going through like these particular programs, you know, if we're looking at like that measurement of success, or, you know, and I know that can be difficult to define as well, or those outcomes, how that then lines up with, you know, the systems that they're then involved in, whether they're in, you know, adult diversion or probation or parole, you know, reentry, all of those things. I don't know how, like, if there's a way to do that alignment and what that would look like, and you don't have to answer it now. I'm sure that's probably something for the group, but I just wanted to put that out there as putting it into the universe that hopefully maybe it could be a thing.
Yeah, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's okay.
I was just going to say, absolutely, Councilwoman. That's something that our data team striving for on a number of levels is to take data from systems and analyze it against all our public safety data, our court data, all the data, right? And that's where we can really measure outcomes and have impacts. One of the most difficult things to do it to make sure that we have common matches, so we could put Armando Saldate that's in this program, but also could be measured on that they're looking at the same Armando Saldate in our databases, is that we have a key identifier that we know that that's the person. That's where we've lagged in the past when we've had, you know, let's say one of our providers uses name, date of birth, and social security number, and then their own client ID. We utilize in safety, you know, someone's state identification number or FBI number, those types of things. So trying to get that to marry across so we know we're making those matches and can be confident in those matches is hard. That's why I push towards us having a singular system or a common system that we're inputting the data. It makes it much easier to do that matching and analysis. And Cindy, did you have anything more to add? I know you and the team have researched this a lot.
No, I agree. And not only So I think a lot of that is program based as well, right? Like, does probation really matter for that program? If it does, then absolutely. Same with like Denver Dream Center. It's a prison program, right? So we've never really had prison programs before. I don't know if prison recidivism matters or if Denver jail matters. So when we talk about marrying to the systems, completely agree, and completely agree that, Shay and I have talked about in the past, making those connections to the other systems, trying to validate the data and make sure that we have the right. So that's why the metrics are important, right? Like, do we care about going back to prison or going back to jail? If so, then we need to be able to get that data. And so completely agree. Does court matter? If so, then we can work with the courts on getting matching up that level of data. So absolutely, those are exactly the questions that we want as well. And
Anthony, I see you. I'm just gonna jump in and add to from my perspective as a student of the public health approach. I'm also looking at, are we capturing data around social determinants of health and other contributing risk and protective factors as far as an individual and what may have led to their involvement into the system or what is helping them divert them from the system. So all that to say, I love the way where this conversation is headed. Councilperson, you brought up a lot of great points. So I hope that you are inspired to be a part of the subcommittee that Armando mentioned. I will take down names if anybody is motivated to volunteer right now on the call, or and then we could do a follow up email. Uh-oh. Anthony, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you now. You were cutting in and out a little bit there, but I think you're back.
I took my camera off. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah.
All right.
But should I jump in with my question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I thought the data presentation was great, and I think it gives us all a lot to think about. I thought the idea of sort of the sliding windows and sort of the rolling window was really, really interesting, but probably maybe a little bit difficult to implement, at least to start. My sort of question was, because you were talking about year-long kind of fixed windows maybe to start, and that raised the question of, I know that we do this process every year, and I think traditionally we've stuck with, a lot of the same contractors. So I wonder if, it's almost like you get that year of baseline data and then you have the follow-up years is kind of how the slides looked. If it's possible, even if the sliding windows are difficult to start with, maybe we could do sort of smaller fixed windows where we have like a recidivism rate for each quarter or month or something attributable to a specific contractor. That was just what I was wondering about. And then, yeah, I guess the other question I had was, it'll of course be like, I know a lot of people are already onboarded to this platform, and that's great. You got to have a single platform to make it work. But would we sort of be envisioning us sort of helping potentially some of the smaller nonprofits that might want to compete here implement the data system so that they are able to seamlessly integrate with it?
Can I speak to that real quick? So first of all, on your timeframes, I get that. And I think one of the things that is hard is that when we start taking a person into a program, that's kind of their start date, right? And so they need time to be able to recidivate. So a year is probably a good time frame for that. Like, I don't think we could give you descriptives, I think, the first 6 months, this is how many people were in the program, but really not start talking about any outcomes until a good number of those people have had time in the community to recidivate, so that number is meaningful. As you're talking, it feels to me, if there's 2-year windows, it feels like 1 year could be an RFP window, or in the same year, you could have programs that are maturing into their 2-year, plus then starting an RFP on new programs, right? So you're planning for the next year. I think there's ways to do that to really align with the budget, and would love to work with you guys on fixing that. And then, yes, we could really talk through the metrics on those outcomes. Completely agree with you on all of that.
Okay, that's great. And maybe what the data committee could consider is like, I think you're sort of talking about the overarching program outcome, which is what's the recidivism rate and how many people are recidivating. But then there are maybe some leading indicators that we would envision potentially influencing that, but we can't be totally sure, that we could track as a data team throughout even the first year, the second year, and all that, just to kind of keep an eye on things so that we've got program data even before that year window. So
yeah, absolutely. For an example, I think Denver Dream Center sees people in prison, and then they also have a program that sees prison people in the community. And so, is there a handoff? Or so that's one of the things we could look at in that first year, right? Like, what services are they providing? What are they getting? What are they doing in the community? How is that handoff? Those kind of things that wouldn't be outcome data, but would say, we know that you'll be more successful if we shore up these things within that program. So 100% agree with everything you're saying. So I think we would on our team love that kind of conversation and be able to work through those kind of things and add value to this conversation.
that's really exciting. And yeah, it makes complete sense that this data group would be part of the SOW process so that it's kind of there from the start of the projects.
It's silly that we aren't, right? Like, so yeah,
I think we chalk that up to lesson learned as a part
for
of
13 years we haven't, it's been interesting. So yeah, I agree. I think it is exciting for us as well on the data side. We want to do good work for you guys too. So it's exciting for us too.
It's really exciting. Thank you. Thanks for answering my questions.
Yeah.
And thank you for the great questions. So that couple of things. So one, we will be taking volunteers for a data subcommittee to work through some of the logistics of what data should be collected to be able to make some informed decisions about future scope of works and the work after the fact that the RFP or the contract's been awarded. That being said, and Armando, I'm going to lean on you here for just a bit. With the budget process that Shanae talked about, the historic budget process, we will be looking at a decision of whether or not we're going to renew contracts of our current provider, our current vendors pretty soon here. And as Cindy has explained to us, we don't have a lot of quality data at this point about how well they're performing or not performing one way or the other. I think that we're going to make. I have trust Cindy and her team are going to inform us as a commission as best as possible with what we have, and we can move forward. Once we improve the process. That being said, when I talked to Armando last week and Jeff and Shanae, I want to raise the conversation for this commission to recognize that, again, the work that this commission does is crucially important. And if I'm just going to be very frank, I personally fear that we're going to see an increase in people who are introduced into the criminal justice system over probably the next year to 4 years, simply because of the political environment. We may be seeing more things being criminalized and more people going into being incarcerated. And that the role of this commission is literally to reduce the need of jail bed usage. Also, we're seeing it happen very rapidly right before our eyes that funding resources are being stripped from community-based organizations. Uh, and community-based organizations that are doing great work specifically for some of our most vulnerable populations. That being said, I want to introduce the possibility that we will that maybe we should renew the contracts when it comes time for making a decision for our current vendors without a lot of data that we can make thoroughly informed decisions on. I'm just putting it out there for awareness. I'm happy to have open it up to the floor for conversation. Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball, and none of what I said is declarative. It is more explorative and food for thought. And so I'll pause there for any conversation. And Armando, if you have anything to add to that, I would welcome.
I don't have anything to add. Thank you for sharing that perspective, Jonathan. I will ask Shanae. Shanae, do you have anything to add to that, especially around the timing? I think we're looking at next month that we're going to have to put forward the go or no go on these contracts.
That is correct, Director and Chairperson McMillan. What we'll be looking at is we'll be voting on the 4 contracts that was referenced on the 3rd page of the financial document. It's the ones with the Dream Center and CEO and for Thrive, and forgot the other 2 vendors, so please forgive me. But yes, we will be voting on those. The reason we're going to pick April to vote is even though the contracts are expire on June 30th, they will at this point become council facing, meaning the value over the 2-year period as of June 30th, we will have the contracts in place for 2 years. And so any extensions after that, it's just the cumulative of the contract max spend being over $500,000. And so they will be council facing. When we say council facing, that means we will have to present the contracts in front of city council for approval. And so that takes a little bit longer of a period as opposed to just our contracts that do not require going through council. And so that's why we were choosing the April timeframe. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanae, for that background. Councilperson Gonzalez Gutierrez.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that I understand the like timing and everything. If the current, I guess I would be curious about like the current scope of works for those providers and the current requirements for data collection. If we could at minimum, and I think this is what we had asked for even last time, was like, can we at minimum get that information, right? Can we be provided with, what things look like since they've been under the current contract, right? If we're talking about a renewal, can we at the very minimum get some numbers, some data, even just basic data? Knowing that the evaluation process obviously is going to be a much lengthier process, but just kind of just basic data.
Yeah, I'll just jump in. So we have pretty good data for most of the new programs that we can do evaluations on, and we will do evaluations in April. They may not completely follow the scope of work because the scope of works are so like general in terms, so our evaluation will go deeper than what is required by the scope of work. And I really thank all the programs for really working with Shay and I on getting data that isn't required in their contract. So they have all, worked with us on getting a level of data that we can evaluate. We would really like to be able to have that in their scope of work. So in the future, they honestly know what we expect and what we can use. But we will provide good evaluation data for the programs in April. So we have worked with them at a level in which we can get it, but we really do probably need to look at those scopes if they're going to be renewed or whatever you guys decide to do. But you will get good evaluation data on all the programs in the next 2 months.
Okay, so then we will have data to look at
Yeah.
before approving the
Yeah, and I'm hoping that we can get some evaluations done ahead of the meeting, so it's not like in that meeting you're given this. We're just time crunched on our end because we're just now receiving their data, and so we will do the best that we can to get it to you guys in a time, even if it's a few days ahead of the meeting, so you can digest the analysis that we've done, so you can make a decision in April. We get it on our side that we're putting you guys in a tough position too.
I appreciate everything that you're doing. And so for that, Jonathan, I would say if we're gonna have the information, like, I think that that is helpful. And so I don't know that we don't consider data. I think we should still consider it. At least I can speak for myself. I would want to be able to consider it. So I don't know if that was the ask. I just want to make sure I'm understanding what it is that you're asking as we are reconsidering or will be considering reauthorizing.
Yeah, thank you for the and thank you for allowing me to clarify. There really wasn't an ask. It was just setting the stage of we recognize and Cindy and her team. And Cindy, please, I hope you didn't hear me as disparaging the team or any work that's been done up to this point. Um, Understanding that the scope of work and the level of data that the scope of work has required may not show a full picture. And that really is just table setting and understanding that the time crunch that we will be under and having to make a decision next month, we may not see the most robust picture of whether or not we're achieving our outcomes or not. I have faith that all of our vendors are doing the best job that they can in what we've asked of them. And that moving forward, we will have a process in place that will be included in the scope of work that really helps us understand the desired outcomes and the level of success of achieving those. Uh, but as you know, as a council person, as Shanae mentioned, we need to vote probably a little bit sooner than we would on extending those contracts than we normally would because they need to go before council. Does that make sense? Okay, great. Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. Well, we'll keep the agenda moving then. Thank you all for that. Armando, I'm looking at the agenda here.
I think
Looks like
what you said, we're at any new business, public comment, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So do we have any commissioners to any new business to bring up? Not seen any hands or anything, then I think we can open it up for public comment. Any person on the call that from the public that would like to make comment, please unmute now.
Okay, hearing none. All right, well, I thank you all for about 60 minutes of your time this afternoon. I would just love for to wrap up this first meeting with again thanking you all and express my gratitude for your service on this commission. Although I would not qualify this as new business, I would like for you all to brainstorm what would this meeting look like in person and what would work best for you moving forward. I just, again, not putting it on the agenda, just would like for you to brainstorm so we can maybe discuss it in next month's meeting or a future meeting. And with that, I wish you all a happy, safe rest of the day and the rest of the week. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.